Overthinking is a prison you build for yourself. It traps you in loops of doubt, fear, and hesitation, convincing you that if you just think a little more, plan a little harder, and anticipate every outcome, you will finally feel in control. But the truth? Overthinking doesn't prevent mistakes, it prevents action. And nowhere is overthinking more destructive than in relationships. Have you ever agonized over a single text, wondering if you said the wrong thing? Have you replayed a conversation in your head, searching for hidden meanings that weren't even there? Have you held back from expressing yourself, fearing judgment or rejection? This is the mental prison of overthinking, a cycle that keeps you anxious, insecure, and afraid of making mistakes. It doesn't help you connect better with others. It pulls you away from them. Personal experience. My own battle with overthinking. I know this struggle because I lived it. For years, I was obsessed with getting everything right in my relationships. I wanted to say the perfect things at the perfect. I avoided difficult conversations out of fear of being misunderstood. I analyzed people's every reaction, assuming I did something wrong. But instead of improving my relationships, overthinking made them worse. I became hesitant. I second-guessed myself. I lost the ability to be fully present with people. Then I discovered Stoicism, a philosophy that cut through my illusions. At first, I dismissed it as just another ancient ideology, but as I explored it, I realized Stoicism wasn't about just surviving life. It was about mastering it, the revelation that changed everything. Stoicism doesn't sugarcoat reality. It doesn't tell you to sit in your emotions and analyze them endlessly. It teaches you to take control, to detach from the need for approval, to build relationships based on reality, not fantasy. When I applied Stoic principles, everything changed. I stopped taking everything personally. I let go of the need for constant validation. I learned to separate emotions from actions. I became less reactive, more present, and more at peace. For the first time, I wasn't overthinking my relationships. I was living them. Are you ready? For this video isn't for people looking for easy answers. Stoicism isn't about comfort, it's about truth. And sometimes the truth is hard to hear. But if you are tired of overthinking, self-doubt, and letting fear control your relationships, then stay with me, because today, we're diving deep into 7 Stoic lessons that will transform how you connect with others. These aren't just theories. They are practical tools to help you communicate better, build stronger relationships, free yourself from the mental traps that hold you back. This is for those ready to stop living in their heads and start living. Let's begin. Overthinking is quicksand. The more you struggle, the deeper you sink. You convince yourself that if you just think longer, plan better, or analyze every possibility, you will avoid mistakes. But the truth is, overthinking doesn't prevent failure. It prevents action. This is especially damaging in relationships. You hesitate to send a message, fearing it won't come out right. You replay a conversation in your head, dissecting every word. You analyze someone's reaction, assuming the worst. Instead of connecting with people, you get trapped in mental loops of hesitation and self-doubt. The longer you stay stuck in analysis, the harder it becomes to act. Overthinking kills momentum. A hard lesson. I learned this lesson the hard way. Years ago, I had a business idea that could have changed my life. I spent months researching, planning, and perfecting every detail. I wanted everything to be just right before I took action. But by the time I was finally ready to launch, the market had changed, and the opportunity was gone. I had overanalyzed myself into paralysis. Seneca warned about this. While we are postponing, life speeds by. I had been so afraid of making mistakes that I ended up making the worst mistake of all, doing nothing. And it's the same in relationships. I once spent weeks debating whether to reach out to an old friend I had lost touch with. I kept thinking, what if they don't want to hear from me? What if it's awkward? What if I say the wrong thing? While I was stuck overanalyzing, they moved on with their life. When I finally reached out, they were happy to hear from me. But the closeness we once had was already fading. The lesson? No amount of thinking can replace the learning that comes from doing. The myth of the perfect plan. We tell ourselves we need more information, more certainty, more preparation before taking action. But here's the truth. No plan survives first contact with reality. You can map out every scenario, but once you take action, real-world factors will change everything. Want a better relationship? Stop analyzing. Start communicating. Want to fix problem? Take the first step instead of waiting for the perfect moment. Want to be more confident? Take action despite uncertainty. Confidence comes from experience, not theory. People who take action fail more, but they also succeed more. Why? Because every action teaches you something. Overthinking teaches you nothing. Mindset shift. Progress over perfection. Perfection is an illusion. If you wait for the perfect moment, the perfect words, the perfect circumstances, you will wait forever. Instead of aiming for perfection, aim for progress. Say what needs to be said. Apologize if needed. Take action. Even if it's imperfect, Marcus Aurelius put it best. The impediment to action advances action. What stands in the way becomes the way, meaning the only way forward is through. Obstacles don't disappear when you overthink them. They shrink when you take action against them. Practical challenge. Break the overthinking cycle. Next time you catch yourself trapped in analysis, ask yourself, what is the smallest action I can take right now? It doesn't have to be big. Just something. Send the message. Make the call, start the conversation. Taking action creates clarity. Overthinking creates confusion. If you want better relationships, stop waiting. Stop analyzing, start acting. We think people are watching us, judging every word, every mistake. But here's the truth. They're not. Everyone is too busy dealing with their own lives, their own problems, insecurities, and struggles. You are not the center of their world. Yet, the fear of judgment keeps you trapped, hesitating, overanalyzing, second-guessing every move. You assume that everyone remembers that awkward moment, that bad joke, or the time you said the wrong thing. But the moment you realize people aren't thinking about you nearly as much as you imagine, you free yourself. The spotlight effect. You're not that important, and that's a relief. Psychologists call this the spotlight effect, the tendency to believe we are being observed and scrutinized more than we actually are. I remember when I first started public speaking. The first time I stood in front of an audience, I was terrified. My hands were shaking, my voice felt weak, and I was convinced everyone noticed how nervous I was. After the talk, I asked a friend how bad it looked. He just shrugged and said, "What do you mean? You seemed fine." That moment changed everything. I realized people don't notice half the things we obsess over. They're too busy thinking about themselves. Think about it. You fumbled your words? People forget within seconds. You made a bad joke? Nobody's replaying it but you. You wore something embarrassing? Most won't even notice. We are all the main characters in our own stories. And because of that, other people aren't as focused on you as you think. They're focused on themselves. This is liberating. It means you can stop walking on eggshells, stop obsessing over tiny mistakes, stop overthinking interactions. Because, most of the time, nobody cares. Stop holding yourself back. Think about the opportunities you've missed because of imaginary judgment. You didn't speak up because you feared rejection. You held back from expressing your true feelings because you feared what others might think. You avoided trying something new because you assumed people would judge you. I once spent an entire year wanting to start a YouTube channel but never did. I worried about what people would think of my voice. I stressed over whether my content would be good enough. I feared people would laugh at me. Then one day I asked myself, what if nobody actually cares? I finally hit upload, and guess what? Nobody mocked me. Nobody even paid that much attention at first. But that one action started a journey that changed my life. What if the only thing stopping you is your own mind? If you wish to improve, be content to be thought foolish and stupid. Epictetus, the need for approval is a mental prison. But even if people do judge you, it doesn't matter. Their opinions don't change your reality. Their judgment doesn't shape your life. You do. Practical. Action: free yourself from the fear of judgment. Next time self-doubt creeps in, remind yourself, nobody is thinking about you as much as you are thinking about yourself. Take the risk. Speak your mind. Stop hesitating. Once you stop caring about imaginary judgment, you start living freely. The opinions of others don't define you. Your actions do. Comparison is a trap. You scroll through social media, see someone's highlight reel, and suddenly feel like you're behind. Someone has a better job, a happier relationship, a more exciting life. And just like that, you start questioning yourself. But here's what you don't see: their struggles, their doubts, their failures. Social media is a curated illusion, yet we compare our worst moments to someone else's best moments. And that's how comparison fuels overthinking, self-doubt, and dissatisfaction. A personal story. The day I realized comparison was destroying me. A few years ago, I was working a job I didn't love and trying to figure out my next step. One day, I was scrolling through Instagram and saw an old college friend. He had just moved to a new city, landed an incredible job, and was traveling to exotic places. Instantly, I felt like a failure. Why was he ahead while I was stuck? What was I doing wrong? Why didn't I have a life like that? For days, I spiraled into self-doubt. I started questioning every decision I had ever made. I even considered quitting my job out of frustration. But then, a few months later, I met that same friend for coffee. And guess what? He wasn't happy. He told me the job was stressful, the city was lonely, and the life he was showing online wasn't as glamorous as it looked. That's when it hit me. I had been comparing myself to a fictional version of his life. From that moment on, I made a decision. I would stop measuring myself against others and start focusing on my own path. You're playing a different game. The person you envy has a different story, different challenges, and different starting points. You don't have the same circumstances, experiences, or priorities. So why are you measuring yourself against them? A 25-year-old billionaire? They had different resources and opportunities. Someone in peak physical shape? They have different habits, genetics, and discipline. A friend who seems happier? You don't see their private struggles. You are not in competition with them. You are on your own path. Measure yourself against who you were yesterday. Instead of looking at others, look at yourself. Ask yourself, am I making better choices today than I did last week? Am I improving in ways that matter to me? Am I living in alignment with my values? True success isn't about keeping up with others, it's about growth. The only comparison that matters is you versus yesterday's you. Epictetus said it best. Freedom is the ability to live as you wish, without being disturbed by what others think. Practical mindset shift. Turn envy into inspiration. Instead of seeing others' success as a reminder of what you lack, use it as proof of what's possible. That person who achieved what you want, they started somewhere too. Instead of feeling bitter, learn from them. Instead of resenting their success, channel that energy into your own growth. Every second spent comparing yourself to others is a second wasted. Redirect that energy toward becoming the best version of yourself. Perfection is a lie we tell ourselves. We think that if we just work harder, plan more, or wait for the perfect moment, everything will finally be flawless. But in reality, perfection isn't about achieving greatness. It's about avoiding failure, fear of failure. You believe that if you get everything right, you will never experience rejection, criticism, or disappointment, fear of judgment. You assume that if you appear perfect, others will admire you and never look down on you. Fear of not being enough. You set an impossible standard, thinking that if you reach it, you will finally feel worthy. But here's the truth. Perfection doesn't exist, and the more you chase it, the more you hold yourself back. A personal story. How perfection almost stopped me from creating. Years ago, I wanted to start a YouTube channel. I had tons of ideas, but every time I thought about filming, I'd stop myself. My script wasn't perfect, my camera setup wasn't professional enough, my delivery didn't sound polished. So, I told myself, I'll wait until I'm fully prepared. 1 month passed, then 3, then 6. I watched other people post content and thought, I could have done that. But I didn't, because I was waiting for perfect. Then one day, I finally uploaded a video that I wasn't fully happy with. And guess, what? Nobody cared about the flaws I obsessed over. People liked the message, not the production quality. The imperfections made it feel real. That video got way more engagement than I expected, and it made me realize, if I had kept waiting for perfect, I would have never started. How perfectionism destroys relationships. Perfectionism doesn't just slow you down, it prevents real connection. You overanalyze every message you send, making sure it's just right before hitting send. You hesitate to be vulnerable, afraid that showing imperfection will make people respect you less. You hold back from expressing love, appreciation, or even an apology, waiting for the perfect words or timing. And what happens? You miss opportunities for real connection. Instead of being present, you are trapped in your head. Instead of taking action, you are frozen in hesitation. Instead of building relationships, you are too busy trying to control how others perceive. Here's what you need to realize. People don't connect with perfection. They connect with authenticity. If you're always trying to appear flawless, you push people away instead of drawing them in, because imperfection is what makes you human. The 85% rule, why perfection is the enemy of progress research, shows that people perform best when they aim for 85% effort, not 100%. Why? Because perfectionism creates unnecessary pressure. When you aim for perfection, you hesitate to take action because you fear getting it wrong. You overthink every decision because you want it to be flawless. You set impossible expectations for yourself and others, leading to disappointment. When you accept imperfection, you learn faster. Mistakes are the best teachers. Adapt quicker. You stop obsessing over tiny details and focus on what truly matters. Take action. You move forward even if things aren't perfect. Think about it. If you wait for the perfect words, you'll never say what needs to be said. If you wait for the perfect moment, you'll never take the risk. If you demand perfection from others, you'll destroy relationships with unrealistic expectations. The reality is, no one needs you to be perfect. They need you to be present. Perfectionism leads to procrastination. Most people think perfectionism makes them better, but in reality, it just makes them stuck. Because the fear of imperfection leads to inaction. You delay decisions. You avoid difficult conversations. You hesitate to express yourself. You miss opportunities for love, growth, and connection. And for what? Because you're afraid of getting it wrong. But waiting for the perfect moment means missing the present moment. How many times have you held back from saying, "I love you," because you were waiting for the perfect timing? Apologizing because you didn't know the exact right words? Taking a risk because you didn't feel ready yet? Here's what you need to know. There is no perfect timing, no perfect words, no perfect version of you. There is only now. No man was ever wise by chance. Seneca wisdom, growth, and deep relationships don't happen by accident. They happen when you embrace imperfection, take action, and learn through experience. Practical action. Progress over perfection. Here's how you break free from perfectionism. Set a good enough standard and move forward. If it's 85% right, go with it. If you're hesitating out of fear, push through it. If you're overthinking, remind yourself, done is better than perfect. Because perfection won't make your relationships better. presence will drop the impossible standard and embrace the reality of being human. We like to think our emotions reflect reality, but they do not. Emotions are not facts. They are temporary reactions, often based on fears, assumptions, and past experiences, rather than the truth. Fear makes a small problem feel like a disaster. Anger convinces you to lash out before thinking. Doubt makes you hesitate when you should take action. Your emotions feel real in the moment, but that does not mean they are accurate. Have you ever overanalyzed a text message, convinced someone was mad at you, only to find out they were just busy? Replayed a conversation for hours, thinking you embarrassed yourself, while the other person forgot about it in minutes? Felt rejected, when in reality the person was dealing with their own issues? Your emotions lied to you. Why you shouldn't trust your emotions. Blindly, emotions aren't the problem. The problem is letting them control you. The Stoics understood this well. Epictetus said, "It is not things that disturb us, but our judgment about them." This means it is not what happens that upsets you. It is how you interpret it. You cannot control external events, but you can control your reaction. If you let your emotions control you, you will constantly overthink conversations and relationships, make impulsive decisions you regret, waste time stressing over things that do not matter. The solution? Separate emotion from reality. The 5-5 rule, a simple way to control emotional overthinking. When you are caught in an emotional spiral, ask yourself, will this matter in 5 years? If not, do not spend more than 5 minutes worrying about it. Most of what we stress over is temporary and forgettable. That awkward conversation? Forgotten in a day. That mistake at work? A lesson, not a disaster. That argument? Only a lasting issue if you let pride keep it alive. The more you zoom out, the less power emotions have over you. How the world manipulates your emotions. Your emotions are not just shaped by your thoughts. They are influenced by external forces that want your attention. News media uses fear to keep you watching. Social media fuels envy to keep you scrolling. Marketers manipulate emotions to make you buy. The more emotionally reactive you are, the easier you are to manipulate. Understanding this helps you detach. If you recognize someone is trying to provoke you, you can choose not to react. Practical action. Stop letting your emotions control you. When you feel overwhelmed by an emotion, pause and ask, is this feeling based on facts or assumptions? Do they actually ignore me, or are they just busy? Is the situation really bad, or is my fear exaggerating it? Is my anger justified, or am I reacting impulsively? You will always have emotions, but you do not have to obey them. Instead of being controlled by feelings, use logic to guide your actions. That is how you stay in control, and that is how you build better relationships. Most people believe happiness comes from getting what they want. They think, if I achieve this goal, if I gain this person's approval, if I get the response I want, then I'll finally feel satisfied. But what happens when the outcome is different from what they expected? They feel frustrated. They start doubting themselves. They overanalyze everything. This attachment to results is the root of overthinking in relationships. You overanalyze a conversation, wondering if you said the wrong thing. You hesitate to open up, fearing rejection. You hold back from expressing how you feel, afraid of not getting the response you want. But here's the truth. You do not control the outcome. You only control your effort. If you measure success by external results, you will always be chasing validation. If you measure success by effort, you will always be in control. The story of two approaches. The job interview. Imagine two people going for the same job interview. Person A, obsessed with the outcome. They walk in with one goal, to get the job. They spend the entire interview trying to say the right things. They overanalyze their answers, hoping to impress. After the interview, they replay every moment in their head, wondering if they made mistakes. If they don't get the job, they feel like a failure. Person B, focused on effort. They walk in with a different goal, to give their best effort. They focus on being present and answering questions honestly. After the interview, they reflect on what they learned instead of overthinking. If they don't get the job, they don't see it as failure. They see it as an opportunity to improve. Who walks away with more confidence? The person who focused on effort, not outcome. This is the key difference between those who grow and those who stay stuck in fear. Why winners lose more than others? Most people think success means avoiding failure. In reality, the most successful people fail more than anyone else. The best speakers have bombed on stage before they mastered public speaking. The strongest relationships have survived conflicts before they became stronger. The most successful entrepreneurs have heard no hundreds of times before they got their first yes. But they didn't quit, hesitate, or overthink. They focused on effort, not outcomes. A personal story, learning to let go in relationships. There was a time when I overthought every interaction in my relationships. If I sent a message and didn't get a response right away, I would assume the worst. Did I say something wrong? Are they ignoring me? Do they not care anymore? Instead of enjoying conversations, I was always chasing the perfect response. One day, I decided to change my approach. I told myself, I will focus on giving my best effort, and whatever happens, happens. I started being more open, sharing my thoughts without fear. I stopped waiting for the perfect response and started appreciating the moment. I realized that I can't force a connection. I can only show up fully and let things unfold naturally. What happened? My relationships improved. Not because I got better at saying the right thing, but because I became more genuine, present, and relaxed. The paradox of letting go. Ironically, those who obsess over results struggle the most. They hesitate to take action. They stress over every little detail. They self-sabotage because they fear failure. But those who detach from results and focus on effort tend to perform better because they aren't crippled by fear, enjoy life more because they aren't always chasing approval, build stronger relationships because they are fully present. If you focus on having great conversations, you won't stress about how someone reacts. Focus on being present. You won't fear rejection. Focus on giving your best. You will feel fulfilled no matter what happens. This is what the Stoics meant by controlling what you can and accepting what you cannot. You control your effort, your attitude, your decisions. You do not control how others react, what people think of you, the final result. When you truly accept this, you will feel freer than ever before. Practical action. Measure effort, not outcomes. Each day ask yourself, did I give my best effort today? If the answer is yes, then the outcome does not matter. Give your best in your relationships. Show up fully. Express yourself honestly. Keep moving forward. The result is out of your hands, but your effort is always within your control, and that is where real growth, confidence, and freedom begin. Overthinking steals today by trapping you in yesterday's regrets and tomorrow's worries. You replay past mistakes, analyzing what you should have done differently. You obsess over conversations, wondering if you said the wrong thing. You worry about the future, predicting problems that may never happen. But here's the truth. The past is unchangeable. The future is unknown. The only thing that truly exists is this moment, right now. Marcus Aurelius put it simply. Confine yourself to the I, present. The more you focus on the here and now, the less power anxiety, regret, and stress have over you. A personal story. How I missed an important moment. A few years ago, I was at a family gathering, but my mind wasn't there. I kept checking my phone, waiting for a reply to an email. I kept thinking about work, worrying about a deadline. I kept replaying an earlier conversation, wondering if I had said something wrong. By the time I finally put my phone away, the night was over. I had missed meaningful conversations. I had missed laughter, I had missed moments that wouldn't come back, all because I was mentally somewhere else. That night I realized something painful but true. I had been present physically, but absent mentally. I decided to change. I told myself, from now on I will be where my feet are. When I'm with people, I'll be with them. When I'm working, I'll focus on work. When I'm relaxing, I won't let stress steal my peace, because life doesn't wait for you to be present. The Stoic pause, breaking the cycle of overthinking. When anxiety creeps in, stop and take a breath. Ask yourself, what problem exists right now in this moment? Is the issue happening right now, or is it just in my head? Am I creating problems that don't exist yet? Am I missing what's happening in front of me? 90% of the time, the problem isn't real. It's just your mind running wild. Example, the text message that made me anxious for no reason. One day, I sent a message to a friend. They didn't reply for hours. My mind jumped to conclusions. Are they upset with me? I started replaying our last conversation, searching for a mistake. I felt anxious, even though nothing had actually happened. Reality? They were just busy. Pausing forces you to step back, reset, and return to reality. Overthinking is living in an illusion. Presence is living in reality. The power of presence. Train your mind. Like a muscle, living in the present is a skill. Your mind will drift, but you can train it to come back. When overthinking starts, notice it, then gently bring yourself back. When fear of the future takes over, remind yourself that nothing is happening yet. When regret pulls you into the past, remind yourself that it's over. You only control what you do now. Like any muscle, the more you practice presence, the stronger it becomes. Practical action. The 5 senses grounding technique. A simple way to break out of overthinking is to ground yourself in the present moment using your senses. Try this when your mind is racing. Notice 5 things you see. Look around and observe details, the color of the walls, the way light reflects off an object, the people around you. Notice 4 things you feel: the texture of your clothes, the warmth of your hands, the chair beneath you, the air on your skin. Notice 3 things you hear: the hum of a fan, the sound of cars outside, your own breathing. Notice 2 things you smell: fresh air, coffee, or any scent in your surroundings. Notice 1 thing you taste: a sip of water, gum, or even just the air itself. This technique instantly pulls you back to the present. Instead of being lost in thoughts of the past or future, you are fully engaged in the now. Final thought. Life happens. Now, you can't change the past. You can't control the future, but you can show up fully in this moment. Let go of the mental noise. Release the regrets. Stop living in the what-ifs, because life is happening right now. Overthinking is a habit, but so is clarity, so is presence, so is action. Every time you choose to act instead of analyze, to focus on effort instead of outcomes, to live in the present instead of being trapped in the past or future, you are breaking the cycle. You are rewiring your mind. You are taking control. But knowledge alone changes nothing. Your action plan. Take 1 step. Right now, pick 1 principle from today's lesson and apply it immediately. If you overthink decisions, take 1 small action instead of analyzing. If you fear judgment, remind yourself that nobody is watching as closely as you think. If you compare yourself to others, redirect that energy into your own growth. If you struggle with perfectionism, embrace progress over flawlessness. If your emotions control you, pause and separate fact from feeling. If you obsess over results, focus on effort instead. If you miss the present moment, practice mindfulness today. Do not wait. Choose one and act on it now. Because small steps repeated consistently create massive change. Final challenge. Define your life by action, not overthinking. Life is uncertain, imperfect, and messy, but that is what makes it beautiful. You won't always get it right. You will make mistakes. You will face rejection, but none of that matters as much as what you do next. Will you keep hesitating, or will you act? Will you let fear control you, or will you step forward anyway? Will you keep replaying the past, or will you finally live fully? Right. Now, this is your life. No one else is coming to change it for you. Live boldly, act decisively. Let your actions, not your overthinking, define your life. The choice is yours. Make it now.